Hello and welcome to episode 13 of DealerPod, the podcast where we talk to the motor trade industry experts nationwide to find out about their businesses and gain any insights that they may have to help you with your car sales operation. My name's Stephen and I'm joined by Scott and Martin, and today's guest is the owner of Berrow Motors and runs the hugely successful Shifting Metal YouTube channel. I'd like to welcome to the podcast Mr. Joe Betty. Hi Joe, how are you doing? You okay?
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, very well. Thank you, mate. Yeah, much appreciated. Very kind and very generous introduction there. The YouTube's far more successful than the garage, probably. But yeah. And I don't know about experts and giving any advice, but, you know, I'll tell you about how to look shocked in a thumbnail or something. That's probably about it.
Well, we'll see how we'll get on. So, Joe, obviously, we've spoke at length now, and you and Scott have as well, because we've both been on your podcast. Can you just explain to the audience, to the DealerWay audience who may not know who you are, what it is that you actually do and your story, I suppose, how you started and how you've ended up being like this car dealer YouTube sensation who's sort of flying the flag for everyone?
Yeah, everyone probably hates all the car dealers probably. But so long story fairly short, I'm a heating engineer by trade, so I do still have a heating engineering business. That was like my dad's business. He always told me, I always wanted to do it. You know, I wanted to do what my dad did, but he always sort of said, "Don't do this, don't do that. You don't want this job." Until he thought about he wanted to retire, and he's like, "Do you want to come do this job?" I was like, "All right, okay." So, yeah, I've got that. Was my kind of trade, I guess. Academically, was never the best. Quite switched on, but just wasn't interested in school whatsoever. I wanted to be out working, doing things. Sounds quite similar to Scott. Anything I could get my hands on, I could sell.
Yeah.
I was flogging stuff at school, you know, I was anything like that. So there's definitely a bit of a Del Boy element going on there. And I did the sort of heating stuff for probably about 10 years. I say we've still got it now. We've just got one guy that does some kind of contractual work for NHS stuff for us. And in the meantime, I'd gone off and done other things, tried all sorts of imported stuff from China and sold stuff and had all sorts of different businesses and whatever in the past. Sort of left the family business, upset my dad quite a lot. So ended up winding one business up and coming back and working for him. And then when I actually took over properly, I kind of never really liked plumbing, to be honest. Kind of wound everything down. Didn't like all the same with any industry. Our customers wanted more for less, and just it was hell. It was just stress. So wound it down so it made sense. And as I was making some changes to the plumbing business, we had a storage unit, which was like an industrial unit, full of this stuff that my dad's accumulated over the years, which was when kind of like plumbing factors had closed down, he'd buy like a load of pumps that would normally be like £5,000. He'd get them for 500 quid. But he's a terrible like hoarder. So it was just sat there, all this stuff. And I actually went through, listed everything on eBay and sold it all off and finally cleared this unit. And just by accident started filling out of motorbikes. And I thought, do you know what? I might start selling some motorbikes. And I got insurance to sell motorbikes. Started doing that and then realized that people don't really buy motorbikes the way they buy cars. So then started buying cars and it just spiraled from there really. And yeah, it's been a quite a bumpy ride. Had a bit of a business partner at the beginning, which was just a complete nightmare. And not long after really sort of setting up and having a go with him, where I am now came available. And it was a massive leap for me. Now I look back and I'm like, the sort of money that I was thinking of taking on and, you know, the expense of having this place and the kind of stress of it all seems like nothing. I'd laugh about it now. But back then I was half the man. I was like under 10 stone. The stress was so much for me taking on this place, having just started in the trade, taking on a 6-year lease, but I wanted to give it a go. And this is where we are now. So, yeah. And then on top of all that, I've always liked the idea of the YouTube stuff, and I thought, there's an opportunity to do some YouTube stuff here because being a car dealer, you get loads of different cars in, and I think that's what I like about it. I hate spending money on myself, but I like expensive things and I like buying things. So if I can buy something and make a profit on it, then it's acceptable for me. So I thought, I've got loads of different cars here. I could try and review them. Then quickly realized I don't really know that much about cars, to be honest. Which everyone likes to tell me in the comments, I've got something wrong. I didn't know the specifications of the car, etc. wrong. And it's interesting because you're trying to explain to people I don't need to know every detail about it to sell something and make a profit from it. It's you're probably holding yourself back if you think that's the case. And yeah, I think people are interested in that. So now we just film the ins and outs and the real life day to day of being in the motor trade. So I'm either out cleaning a car or picking a car up from a customer maybe, or moaning about a customer 9 times out of 10, or a finance provider or someone who's tried to screw me, or I've got myself banned from BCA because I was moaning about something I've done at BCA. But at the end of the day, I just film what happens, really. And I think I'm surprised at how well it's done. But I think it's amazing the amount of people that have spoken to. Oh, sorry, that's me. That resonate with it. And I thought honestly that the likes of you guys watching this would watch me doing my sort of small car sales pitch and just be like, this guy is a complete idiot. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing. In fact, the more I speak to like big operators, we've all got the same problems. We're all doing the same things. We're all facing the same challenges. We're all having the same thoughts. You're just all doing it a lot better than I am, but I'm documenting it. So yeah, that's kind of how the YouTube came about, really.
I think it's fascinating to me. I've watched you for a while. I can't remember how I got onto it. I live on YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube stuff, but somehow I got onto it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't watch every episode and I don't watch everything all the complete way through, but I'll just nip in and out and watch little bits. And I've been following it for a while. And it's not just yourself. There's other creators now that are doing the same sort of stuff on YouTube. And where we are now as car dealers, like hundreds of people uploading, bidding on cars and getting underneath cars and cleaning cars, and people are watching it. I just don't understand it, but it seems to work. And I seem to find myself watching it as well. I don't know why. It's crazy. Yeah. It's a funny form of entertainment, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it must be about 18 months ago or something. I decided, do you know what I want to do? I want to do what we call the weekly. So it's just literally we film throughout the week, and it's kind of like a roundup of everything that happens. We'll jam it into about an hour long. We started making them, and I was like, I feel like some people would be interested in this, but to be honest, I wouldn't watch someone else doing it. I think it's boring as hell. It's a bit of a busman's holiday, isn't it, to do a day at work and then go home and watch it all on YouTube? But it's incredible the amount of people who do. And I think, I don't know, maybe there's an element of this job can be quite lonely, even if you're Scott and you got about 1 million people working for you. It's still just you at the top making all the decisions and paying all the bills and paying everyone's wages and thinking about all these problems. So yeah, I don't know, I think people just like seeing me suffer. And actually it's quite nice because you do get quite a decent amount of support, from not just dealers but consumers, fans as well. I mean, the one we did just the other day was about a Jag XE, and the guy has completely modified it and put different wheels on it and whatever, and I'm just like, it's such an awkward situation. What do you do now? Just resounding support, which you wouldn't expect for car dealers. It's not always the case, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it surprised me, to be honest.
A quick message from our sponsors, DealerWay. Attention DealerPod listeners, do you want a better, quicker, more profitable way of trading out of your part exchanges or overage stock? List your cars on DealerWay today and connect with over 2,000 vetted trade buyers actively looking for vehicles. No hidden fees, no hassle. Start your own custom auctions from your desk or the palm of your hand in our game-changing app. Or advertise your stock on quick, easy, buy-it-now listings to our eager buyers who are waiting to quickly acquire vehicles. What are you waiting for? Join DealerWay today at dealerway.co.uk and streamline your disposals.
I was going to ask Joe, is there a... you were saying that the trade watch them and also like fans, and is there a way you can find out if there's like a split on your like the fan base, on the audience, like through YouTube? Or is that something you can do or not, or do you just get like so many?
No, it'd be interesting if they make you put your sort of job description in when you sign up to YouTube or something. That'd be quite handy. But
we're like tracking it.
But what I'll know is that, well, I just hear from people. So I'll be even in the early days, I start going to auction. People are like, it's you from whatever. I'm like, yeah, it's me. And I'd get people sort of like making shapes at me as if that's meant to mean that they whatever. And then you'd start getting the auctioneers would be like, oh, YouTube, let's go into YouTube and whatever. And I felt bloody awkward about it, to be honest. But
yeah, I bet, yeah.
You soon get used to it, because the problem is you get a lot of people looking at you, staring at you, and obviously talking about you. You don't know what it's about. They just think, have they seen me? Do they think I'm a dickhead? Do they? Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but yeah.
No, I swear away.
Generally, on the whole, most people have been all right. And in fact, the ones that I've seen at auctions, for it's because you always see people's like jumpers on or whatever, don't you, at auction? And they just feel like, oh, they're talking, keep looking over here, and I'm talking to a camera, and yeah, I feel like a prat anyway. But this guy's obviously like, having a laugh with his mates about me over here. And then I've heard from them in the part later on down the line. They're like, oh, I'd love to come on the podcast, or whatever. So it can't have been that much of a.
You ever get the other way though, where people go, oh, I don't want to be filmed here. You ever get that side of it as well? Or?
Not hugely. I've had it a few times when we've gone to auctions. We get invited to come to auctions to come and film. Some of them don't want you to do it. Some of them want you to do it because they kind of know how well it works. And you get a few of the old timers in there, and they're like fucking YouTubers and influencers here, and they're driving the prices up for us, and they're doing it within earshot.
Yeah.
And I see it as a challenge, because then I'll start smiling and start walking towards them like, as if I'm going to start having a conversation with them, and just see them wilt away. And we're not, it's just is what it is, isn't it? The auctions are asking us to be there. It's not like I'm just turning up and trying to get a load of retail punters to come and buy their cars.
I suppose with you being sort of relatively new to the trade as well, you won't have like that sort of backlog of knowing all the people that go to the auctions. Maybe you can, in your mind, you can get away with it a bit more easier. I'm just imagining, can you imagine me and you back in the day, Scott, going to BCA and me standing filming you and getting it like Joe said, would get the piss took out of it, wouldn't we? Because literally we know everyone, like everyone knows who we are, and vice versa. And it
probably just doing the DealerPod anyway.
I was just going to say, I haven't really bumped into a lot of dealers because I never leave this office, to be honest with you. But I'd imagine when I do sort of bump into dealers that I know they're going to go, oh, podcast, like sort of half taking the mic and half sort of like being, I wonder what he's doing. Like
there's some suppliers have said to me, like finance people are, different suppliers, parts and all that, said that it's been mentioned in the trade, in the Northeast, the podcast thing, what we do. But the main thing, what they always ask is, what are they getting out of it? What are we getting out of it? That's their main question. So they don't know, but
thing is, I enjoy doing them, me. Like not to have any sort of goal out of it, but I mean, I know what we're trying to build the DealerWay platform in the background, but which is why we sort of started them in the first place. But I love doing them. I like talking to new dealers and new people and people that do what we do, and just getting a feel for what they do, and sort of it registers in your mind that actually all these things that I've been doing in my business, and I'm thinking, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Everyone else is the same, and they're having the same thoughts, and they're doing the same things. So you're not as crazy as what you think.
No, I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's not like the most viewed part of the YouTube stuff that I do, because not everyone wants to sit and listen to a 2-hour podcast. I'm sure a lot of people listen in their car and things like that, because I do with other podcasts. But it's been the best thing I've done. Aside from doing a video and getting 200,000 views or whatever, I would rather sit here with you guys in the trade and learn a few bits from each other and just kind of bounce ideas around, because you don't really get that opportunity in other situations, do you? So it was good, because Scott was on my podcast yesterday, and I don't think he knows what he's doing. So it was good to give him some tips and get him on the right track.
I've been trying for a while now. He just won't listen to this.
And you go back to school and learn about technology. It's start, wouldn't it?
Do you know what happened to it? What's crazy? It just got sort of like sprouts these connections. I had a guy yesterday Facebook me and say, I actually seen your podcast on the Shift in Metal, and he says your sort of backstory resonated with me. He says, it's just, I followed the same sort of path that you did with, when I was talking to you about the lenders that were hard and that, they were writing deals with anyone who's got a pulse, and then all of a sudden they pulled the plug. And he's like, yeah. He says, that's exactly what happened to me. And he says, do you mind giving us a call? And I spoke to him on the phone for 2 hours yesterday. And, just about his business and my business, all the similarities. He's in Southampton. I'm Newcastle, the total polar opposite ends of the country. And it was interesting in like everything he was saying. I was like, yeah, that's just what we do. It's weird how you all sort of get to the same place, even though like you've got no one teaching you how to do it.
Yeah.
Strange, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's
Mark drive anyway. Hi, Mark.
It was what was kind of made it click for me is I know you had Jamie Capel on.
Yeah.
And the beginning of last year, I was like, what's that?
Steven's his number one fan. He loves Jimmy.
There's a picture on the other wall.
Come on. I went and visited him, and I was like, right, he's got 300 cars. He's got this, whatever. He's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to glean all of his secrets and all of his things. And we sat there for 2 hours in his office and just chatted shit. And we got exactly the same problems, but mine's, his things 10 times more than mine, but it's the same problems. Cash flow, it's prepping cars, getting them to do them before. I'd love to do them before, but I need to get the stock in. You have a flutter of cars go out, and you want to list your cars before they're ready. And it was just like, oh wow, so we're all doing the same. We're all doing the same thing. We just maybe do it on different scales, and but everyone's got like a little different take on something, haven't they? Which is what I love. So some people are really good at the social media stuff. So like Stephen, you obviously did a lot of the social media stuff to start off with, and there's a couple of other guys that we've had on the podcast, and it just kind of blows my mind that they can have a business that was based off selling cars on Instagram, and they sit there and pre-qualify these customers, and they haven't even got a car, but they're selling them the finance basically, and then they're like, that's the type of car you want. Then they find it, then they get the deal done, and I'm so like, you buy a product, you advertise it, you improve it, you advertise it, you sell it. Like that's how my mind works.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about kind of your way around it, Steve, like of doing like it, getting the finance deal done first, and then some, it's bizarre, but it's just crazy how many. And then there'll be like the people like Theo we had on with Scott yesterday on our podcast. He's got a small pitch. He specializes in low mileage stuff, like from like 1,000 miles to 20,000 miles or something, stuff that I couldn't sell to save my life. But he sells non-stop, would never do any upselling of any warranties or admin fees or any of that sort of stuff. And then the other end of the scale, you got people who are, aiming to not make any money from the cars, but they sell loads of products. And it's just, so I'm trying to like find my little ground in the middle of trying to do everything and just be a bit better.
I don't think there's any right answer, is there? Don't think there's any right answer. I think just whatever works for you. We're all trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. We're trying to get a bit of money at the end of it.
Joe, can I ask you? When you at the beginning there, you mentioned that when you first came in the motor trade, you had a partner. What was your thoughts behind getting the partner? I mean, were you friends beforehand? Was it a financial decision, and then also why didn't it work? Because I mean, a lot of partnerships don't work for various reasons.
Yeah. So yeah, we did college together. Funny enough, before I started doing the plumbing, when I was 16, I went to college to be a mechanic. So I quit long before I finished. I went and got a job. But so we'd met there. And funny enough, when I got this unit and I started mucking around with bikes and cars and stuff, and I just put a car ramp in, he just sort of popped up, got back in touch. I hadn't really heard from him for ages. He used to be an MOT tester, used to be a car salesman. And I used to have a house and used to rent a house off of me years ago. So we kind of like just at a distant sort of friends. And he started turning up, hanging out. Could I borrow your ramp and whatever? Like, yeah, that's fine. And he's like, I could buy some cars, and whatever. So I was the money man basically. So I could put up a bit of money. And in those days, it wasn't a lot. I was. The mistake I made was when we started out, I was like, yeah, all right, well, let's buy a car. Find a car you like. Just make sure I'm happy. I'll pay for it. When we get paid, the money comes to me, and then we'll divvy up, we'll split it down the middle or whatever. That was all fine until it turned out that he was just ripping people off left, right, and center. And he would disappear, and they'd turn up, and it would be me and my unit trying to make my little custom motorbike, and it was me that was dealing with him. And then it would be the debt collectors that were turning up, and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I was just getting too bloody stressed with it. And in somewhere in between there, I'd made the mistake of just getting too stressed with it, and like, I can't be fucking arsed with all this. Just like, you keep hold the money, you take care of the money, and it was about 20 grand or whatever at that time. I was like, you just pay me my cut, and I don't want to hear about it. Just keep away from me. Don't let these people come down here, whatever. And you know, you can guess what happened to that money. Just, you know, just vanished. So to be fair, I left before I moved on somewhere else away from him and his operation. Still, like, you can pay me back, sort of thing. He just did like a midnight flit and was gone. Yeah, just yeah, and screwed a load of people over. So yeah, lesson is, I mean, if you're gonna do a partnership, sometimes they can work great, but just like, do your research beforehand. Write up at least something. There was me trying to get like voice memos in my pocket, talking about when can I have my money back, and you do realize it's, you know, like £17,000 you owe me or whatever. Trying to record him so that if I had to go to court, I could, I'd have some kind of proof, because I didn't have it written down on paper. He was my mate. I sort of trusted him.
I should have done my due diligence before getting involved with you. Too dodgy.
Yeah.
To say the same thing there, but you beat me.
Yeah. The more impressive and you know, the more achievements they seem to have made, the dodgier they usually are.
Yeah, definitely.
His nickname's Dodgy Douglas. That's for a reason.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, you got to just be. And what's funny is, he was obviously just one of those people. He was a born manipulator. And the reason he started hanging around with me was because he'd got in trouble for some other stuff somewhere else. I had no clue. And that's why he started kind of hanging around me, because he couldn't hang around the people he used to hang around before. It all came to light, and it was just one of the worst times of my life was when I took on this place. Like I said, I was so stressed. I was down to 10 stone. I'm like near enough 18 stone now. You know, you can imagine I was like a skeleton.
You could do with some of that stress again, then, Joe. Because
I know, yeah. I seem to have turned the stress then seemed to be like not eating, whereas now I just stress eat. So it's gone the other way.
Opposite way.
Yeah.
Did you see him now, Joe? Is he totally out the equation? Moved on. Do you never come across?
Forgot about that money. There's so many people chasing after him. The amount of people who got in touch with me, he owed, you know, sort of, he owed the landlord, I think, about 15, 20 grand. He owed, he was just up to all sorts. He'd got a load of like tire machines, ramps, stuff like that through the part suppliers, motor factors, because they would do you a credit type thing. Just put it all straight on eBay, sold it all off, never paid it. He owed hundreds of thousands. Just, and I think, you know, I don't hear anything from him. I just thought, I'm never going to get my money back, so I'm not even going to chase it or worry about it. It's just an expensive lesson. Even if I went to court, took him to court, paid the money, which I'd probably win,
you
wouldn't have it to pay it.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those. Just take your lesson and move on. But it's quite funny, really. It's like a valuable lesson, because I look back now and I just try and remember that while talking about being a manipulator, you know, there was people turning up. Grandparents were turning up because he'd sold some kid a car and he'd botched it together, and then would just, you know, just wouldn't take the calls. So then they find me down the little workshop where I was, and I said to him, "You can't keep doing this." He's like, "Oh, you're not cut out for the motor trade. You know, you can't handle the stress. You need to do something else. You know, you never do well as a car dealer." And I think it's quite funny now, really, because, you know, we do all these podcasts, we speak to so many like incredible car dealers, and the YouTube channel's done well to where it is now. Yeah, so now a lesson for believing in yourself, I guess, rather than what other people are telling you. But yeah.
So your business now, Joe, so that, like the motor trade side of the business, not the YouTube. So I think you said earlier, are you stocking is it about 30 cars you stock, or is it more than that now?
Yeah, it's about that. I'd like to stock more, and we probably could fit more. But we need just kind of a bit more of an efficient system, I think.
Right.
We are a little bit limited on space, but
what about price range? What's your retail? Where do you say that?
I won't sell anything less than about £5,000, and even then, I'd love to be like 10 grand to 30 grand or something. But then you have a forecourt full of 20 grand to 30 grand cars, and nothing's selling for a few weeks. You know, oh, I want some cheapies again. It's like, you know, like getting withdrawal symptoms from doing a few sales.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, I'd like to take on another little site for some of the cheaper cars, because it's stuff that I used to love, but I just don't like the idea of some of the headaches with the the older cars.
Hard to get them cars now, though, isn't it? It must be so difficult to try and run a pitch to sell cars for less than $5,000 now. You know, to source, you know, prep, advertise, and then take that little sliver that you've got left. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but when I watched cars like, you know, 63 plate Focuses and stuff like that go for the auctions, I'm looking, going, bloody hell, I can't understand how that car's fetching that much money. It just doesn't work. The math doesn't work, and I just don't know how the guys survive. I think it would be so difficult now to start. You know, like, you know, if you start with $10,000 and like you want to go into a small pitch, and you just had, obviously we call them bangers, and you know you're selling stuff for £1,500, $2,000. I don't know how you do it. I just think it's such a difficult market now.
Not if you're going to do it properly. This is the thing with this job, and I think it's probably what attracted me to it. Is I thought it's easy money. It's easy money. You can buy a car and you can stick $2,000 across it, and it's like great. It's only when you start trying to do the job properly and grow, like it just gets so hard, and all the expenses start swallowing up all your profit. But I think it's just a lot of these guys who are buying stuff at auction. They're quite happy to just literally give it a wash, make it look good, not even look underneath it, and stick if they can make £300 in cash, stick it in their pocket, they're laughing. You know, we'd all be quite happy with take £300 for one deal out of a day or something. If you had no overheads whatsoever, they're making more.
Totally laughing. But to do things right and to do the job properly and cross the T's and dot the I's, you just can't do it.
That's it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it becomes so much harder when you want to do it properly.
We found, Joe, when we were growing our stock, because we'll stock up to like, I don't know, 35, 40 grand. And we started about 7 or 8. But over the years, we used to be maybe 25,000 top end, and then lower end might have been, say, 3,000. But then I think trying to think of it like a consumer, we used to look at the website and you could have like a little, I don't know, like a Toyota Aygo on there for 2,995, and you'd have a nice BMW on for like 25 grand. And your guy looking at your BMs, looking at your stock, and he's going all the way down to $3,000. Where's he selling those cheap ones? That could degrade possibly value. Whereas the guy looking at the Aygo, the little cheapie, he's going to look and go, oh, they've got some nice cars in there. You know, this one must be prepped right, because look at the high end selling as well. So it was just, and we had around to thinking, well, could one put somebody off, a consumer looking at your stock? So we split ours on the website, so we've got like one category in one site and then the other one in the other. So we've got a bit of a divide, which I think works. Yeah. If you plan on, growing.
Yeah, that is kind of what I'd like, because I think the only time you get those sort of cheaper cars at a good price is when you get them in part exchange and you can actually pay a sensible price for them, because you've got you've got the convenience factor built into the price you're offering for a part exchange car, which I was trying to explain to staff or anyone doing it, or people who've asking us for advice, and they're like, oh yeah, but if that was at auction, it would be $2,000 or whatever. And it's like, but it's not at auction. It's they want to drive it to you and take their other car away, and it's a convenience thing for them. So they'll take 1,000. Do you know what I mean? And that's a fair price. So yeah, I think you need to have a divide, because I think it goes a bit deeper than just like you're saying, with someone looking at your stock profile, and you've got like a £2,000 car and a £30,000 car. What I always find is people tend to have like 10 £2,000 cars. I'm going to try a more expensive one. They've got a 10 or 15 grand car. It stands out like a sore thumb. It's like, why have they got that? What's that about? And then the other thing is, I find you get the customers who then turned up for their £2,000 car, and they want the same treatment when they're buying a 45 grand car, which I get to a degree. The same treatment you'll get for sure. You're getting treated with exactly the same respect. But what I always didn't want, and which is why I've put like a hard limit on like $5 grand here. Even if because we might be able to buy a car for like £1,500 part exchange, you might be able to sell it for $5 grand, and it's like great markup. You don't get that return on investment and anything else.
You would love a pitch full of them, wouldn't you? 100 of them would do.
But the thing is, then you've got, your lovely couple who've come in and kind of really considered this nice £30,000 BMW you've got. And next to them is the couple who spent $2 grand on their Aygo or whatever, and the wing mirror glass bobbles about, and they're furious and they're kicking off. Do you know what I mean? It's not good to mix them.
That's where you get all the bad reviews as well. And we used to find that on the cheaper stuff and selling like little, the little older minis, like 5-plate minis. They were terrible for faults. But they tend to be girls who were buying the minis. But that's where your bad reviews would always come in. They'd be straight, "Oh no, you're a terrible, terrible car dealer." But it was the fact that just bought the car was fine when it went out. It obviously developed problems, and they're very problematic cars. But you got to be careful with that, because we had a lot of that going on at one point.
Yeah. So if I do it, I want to go even one step further than you probably have, Scott. Although I'm sure your cheaper cars are like much nicer than my cheaper cars would be, but complete different names. Like you say, with the reviews, you're not going to get reviews at Berrow Motors for your sort of 20 grand cars from the 2 grand cars that you were selling, just because it plays into Dealerway here. This is a free advert for you. But the problem with your part exchanges is that if you want to send it to auction, and like you said, you send it through and it goes through like multi-vendor, or it goes through partner finance or whatever. Everyone knows what the different lanes are. Yeah. And they just die, don't they? And you might not even get back the money that you paid for them. And because everyone's assuming it's a complete nail. Yeah. And it's not like you can put notes on there and say, "Do you know what? Actually, it's a really nice car for what it is. We just don't sell this sort of stuff."
That's what we said at the start. It would be nice if you could put your car in the auction and have like an A4 piece of paper saying, "I've driven the car. Don't stress, lads. This works. The suspension works. It's all good." But obviously, you can't. I mean, Dealerway. I mean, sometimes talking about part exchanges, we get some lovely part exchanges, and you're like, I don't know. I think we've got a focus on there at the moment on Dealerway, and car's great. Came from a nice home, and talking about, you're not necessarily giving away the profit, but I would like to sell that car because there is profit opportunity in there, but it doesn't kind of fit our stock profile. So then you've got to choose. We had one a couple of weeks ago. We took a Mercedes ML in stock, a black one with a big black grille. Looked apart, and I put it on Dealerway, and it just wasn't getting any bids, but it done 92,000 miles, which was a bit higher for us. And I set it away at about £8,000, but then it didn't sell. So again, what do I do now? You send it to the auction, everybody thinks it's knackered, or there's a problem, or they might say that was on Dealerway last week and it didn't sell. And anyway, we decided to retail it. So it was above our miles, put up for sale, sold within 2 days. Literally, we videoed and photographed it. We did the diamond cut wheels, which was 260 quid, and flew through its MOT. It actually didn't need anything. We took it in, we met the people, came from a good home. We got £12,290 for it, and I put it on Dealerway at 8 grand.
Yeah. There's so many cars out there with decent profit that I mean, to be fair, I used to, if I was going to auction, I always wanted to buy the risky stuff because that was the stuff that had the bigger margins in. I guess I'm a bit of a gambler.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, people, when I started out, you just think anything that another trader is selling is going to be a dog. There's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
Don't really think about the fact that people have their niches and they want to stick to it, or they've got their set guidelines. You just think you'd sell everything if it's got a profit in it. Of course you would. When I'm starting out, I was just seeing pound signs in my eyes. But I mean, Tuesday, not wanting to like name drop, but I was went up to Mike Brewer's place, and he had a Disco 4 there, 88,000 miles, which under 100 for me is probably fine. But it's like straight as an arrow. It's like really nice. They don't want anything to do with it. And I think I probably got 5 grand across it. And you would think, why would you get rid of that? But some people just don't want to sell that sort of stuff.
People are scared of discos.
Yeah.
People do get scared of cars.
If it was an Ingenium Discovery Sport, I'd understand. But those 3 liters aren't too bad. Everything's. Do you know what? I say this over and over, but everything's got its fault, hasn't it? If you were to any car, you could pick it. There'll always be someone who's like, "Oh, you got to watch out for the so and so on that." You got to watch out. Yeah, it's like, well,
there's also the other saying though. There's a bum for every seat.
Yeah, so, exactly. Well, it's always the risky stuff that everyone wants, isn't it? It's like you're talking about those minis that are a nightmare with anything you want to do to them. You've got to take the whole subframe off. It's completely labor intensive. The power steering racks are rubbish. They overheat and timing chains rattle for a pastime.
Yeah,
but they're popular as hell. Little Ford EcoBoost Fiestas, you have problems with it. Popular as hell. Nothing will sell faster.
Don't talk to me about them. I've been burned far too many a time with them.
Yeah.
We were having it off with 1 litre Fiestas. having it off.
Just sold a Focus yesterday, 1 litre EcoBoost, so don't upset me too
and
much.
it was an automatic as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, what? Like,
double whammy.
That caused AIDS.
Yeah. Only 25,000 miles though, so and good service history.
Also, it's got another 25 miles.
Oh, yeah, no, 20, yeah. So as long as it's out of my warranty period.
Yeah, we were having it away with 1 litre Focuses and Fiestas for a time, but they were coming back faster than we were selling them.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just
did it win Car of the Year? Didn't it, or something like it? It was Car of the Year when it first came out because of how technologically advanced it was at the time.
Well, they're impressive. Those 1 litre EcoBoosts are impressive. The lad who came and bought this one, he part exchanged a 200,000 mile 1.6 Focus on a 2008, and he's like, "Well, is it? Mine's a 1.6, and that's a 1 litre. Is it? Is it gonna feel really slow?" I'm like, "Well, put his reg in." It's like yours is 99 horsepower, and that's 123 horsepower. Plus, it does an extra like 40 miles per gallon. They're like engineering wise, they're incredible, but reliability, they're obviously just dog shit. So, as with most of the new things they make these days, aren't they?
I got one for my son when he passed his test when he was 17, because that was the dream. Well, not the dream. I'd buy the kids their first car, and then after that they get on with it themselves. And I got him a little Fiesta, and that was the Eco Boom, and it had full leather, and it was the nice model. That was the extended one, and nice colour as well. And he was delighted when he got it. And he must have run that car for about a year. Part exchanged it into the garage for his next car, which he does all the time now. He just gets on with it. And we retailed his little Fiesta, and the girl who had it probably only had it about 2 months, and it went bang. And you just think, well, it came from a good home. We really serviced the car. Yeah. He had a little tracker box thing on his car for his insurance, so didn't drive it fast. And then just one of those things just went bang. It's just, you think, unfortunate, you know.
He had full leather interior on his first car. You can tell he's your son. You know what my first car was? My first car was a K registration white Vauxhall Nova, 4-speed, 1 litre. The windows were windy windows. One of the windows didn't work. I think it was about 400 quid at the time.
I was saying yesterday, Stephen, I was talking to Joe. My first car was a sky blue Vauxhall Cavalier NNL 43X. I bought it from my dad, and I paid him 700 quid for it. And he probably had a lumber profit in it as well. Years ago, I told you this. I had a girlfriend years ago, and her first car, we came down to Newcastle, and I think my brother pointed us in the direction of your dad when he had, and was it the Archers at Biker?
Biker, yeah.
Remember the old shape Astras?
Yeah.
She bought one of them from him, and he done
my dad.
And I tried to deal him. He gave us a bit of money off and all that, and looked after us. And the old shape Astras, they used to have this like big valance that went along the front, and the car was like a sky blue color as well. And it was a nice little thing. Didn't have any problems. But after probably about 6-8 weeks, it started changing colour at the front, and all the little rust heads and everything all started coming through the front. It was like ginger across the front after about 6 months. But it was a nice little car.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to start proving the car there with being bought off me dad, but no, man.
No. That was the only fault.
Yeah, my first car on the road was a Mark IV Astra Estate in Doom Blue.
Wow.
It had the 1.7 Isuzu diesel engine in it, but it felt rapid in comparison to all the lads going around in their little 1 litres. Didn't have a radio in it, so I had a CD Walkman that I'd wired up a set of headphones to a set of house speakers, so you could just about hear it in the car. But tell you what, saw more action in that car than anything else I've ever had. Estate car, back seats folded down. Job was a good one.
What was your
little Fiat Punto 55S?
All right.
It was dark blue, but it had the black bumpers on. Oh, it was horrific. Love that car.
You have to really press down to go into reverse, and then I remember like that big power sticks, didn't it?
I put it over it.
Power steering model or not? Did it have power steering?
I crashed it into a bridge in Mitford, just outside of Morpeth. I took the wall down.
I feel like those old Puntos, you could slam the door shut and you'd see like the door skin go doing in and back out again.
Good, yeah. I had one I had one after me Nova. I had a blue 5-door one with the black bumpers, like you say, but it didn't have power steering, and it was like going to the gym trying to turn the wheel.
I went over. I had a Nova afterwards.
But I remember, I can't remember how much I spent on the car, but I remember buying some 6x9 speakers. Remember when you used to put the 6x9 speakers in the back still? You used to like make the holes for them. And then I bought this big subwoofer amplifier, and I had the head unit, you know, the Dolphin head unit that everyone had, the Pioneer Dolphin thing. Thought I was absolutely mint. And I think I spent more on the sound system than I did the car. You could hear us coming from like a mile away, driving down, going boom, 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 and I'm thinking I was absolutely class. And then you see people doing that now, young lads, you think, absolutely cock. What a tit.
Yeah, but they're doing them
sounds rubbish as well. What you hear from the outside is going along. Yeah.
So Joe, getting back to like obviously your car sales operation at the moment, you stock 30 cars, around about 30 cars. What sort of staff have you got? How many staff do you have to run it?
Yeah, we've probably got about we probably don't at the moment because we sold a few, which is always nice. But we've got about 30 listed for sale, I guess. So we've got more around. Maybe
more, right.
And I think
so about what 60 did you say there?
Yeah, 50 or 60 cars floating about, I guess.
So you've only ever got half of them up for sale?
Yeah, the thing is, I'm really trying to now do like prep in advance, but have the cars ready to roll away, which I'd love to go bigger and have more cars. That is the plan. But I don't want to do it until I've got that like system nailed. Because it has been like a bit of a mini revolution, just people being able to come in. I think we had one this morning, just come in, had a look at a Qashqai, like it. The car's just been written off, and it's been PDI'd, it's been serviced, it's been whatever, it's been cleaned. They can roll away in it today, and the money's straight in. The sold car's not sitting in my yard waiting for bits and pieces. Helps cash flow. It's a nightmare to start off with. I'm struggling with sticking to the rules of being like 100% prep, 99% prep, let's say, in advance. Because
you've got to get over the initial hurdle, because we do that. We try and do that. So as long as you can get let's say you get 50 cars that are fully prepped, then you're just prepping the next cars. You just got to get over that hurdle, because you keep selling cars and then you're replacing them. You just got to get over that little bit of a hurdle to get to a point where you've got enough to go at to be ready.
Yeah, then you've got like a bit of a queue going on, haven't you? So it should all work with the exception of the odd like really busy period.
Yeah.
But, we're probably not quite there yet. But so currently I've got, I think, about 6 people. I can't think if that includes. We've got 2 mechanics. I got Jason at the front that does sales. I got Dan, who's been with me, came with me to this place, so I've employed him ever since day dot. And he does mainly driving and stuff and whatever now. And 2 valeters. So what's that? My maths is terrible. 7. And I'm buying cars and trying to find time to do anything car related in between talking to a camera like a prat, to be honest. So it is a bit of a juggle, because then we've got the YouTube company, which is separate, and there's 2 employees, full-time employees, video guys with that. But the plan is I've got a bit of land. You may have seen on the channel before. It's like 4 acres of land. It's got this big bit of hard standing and some old barns and stuff. So I'm going to try and prep cars there. So we'll have the lads valeting there. We'll do the mechanical here. And once everything mechanical's ticked off here, and it's got a list of bodywork and whatever, it can go over there. They can get the painters in or take it to wheel people or whatever and clean it up. Take all the pictures, videos and everything over there. So then it's just ready to drive over here. Click a button and it's listed online. So then hopefully, as we get a part exchange in, it goes over there, or as we get a car that's just finished its mechanical stage of prep, it can drive over and they'll drive a new one over. We'll yet to see, but that's probably going to involve employing at least one more person, like a prep manager. And my sister, who does my bookkeeping, would actually make quite a good person for the role, and she's quite keen sounding, to be honest. So we will see. Problem is, I don't have that much time because I am doing video stuff and I'm up and down the country doing stuff and whatever. And I sound a bit similar to Scott. It's probably a bit less scatty than I am, but I've got this thing going on, I've got that thing going on, and I just can't stop myself from having clever new ideas before I finish the last one.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
my worst enemy.
I
Do you
get
ever switch off on a night time at all or not?
What's that? Sorry.
Do you ever switch off on a night time? So literally get to whatever PM it is, and right, that's it, nothing.
Not really. No, I'll get home usually, and I'll sit down, maybe watch a couple of hours of TV, or sometimes I'll play on the computer thing that I've had for years. And yeah, that's about it. Then I might start looking at cars for sale, or some emails, or cars that have come through my car buying website, because that's quite busy. And I'll just if I get these knocked out tonight, then I haven't got to deal with it in the morning. So no, I'm pretty bad for it. But then I don't know. It's just what I like doing. So it's not like I feel like I'm tied to it and I hate it and resent it, because if I was given a day off free, I would be doing something around the business, or something to do with something at the farm or whatever. I just I don't like not doing anything, basically.
So do you enjoy the motor trade then?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stay in it for the profits, not what I'm making at the minute. You know,
You just delve into that a little bit more, Joe, because I don't know if Martin and Scott have seen, but I watched one of your videos and I thought it was really frank and forthcoming that I wouldn't have the balls to do it, but you've got all your company accounts in front of the camera and went through everything, what the business had spent and what the business had earned and what you'd actually come away with at the end of the year. And obviously, I know the figure. I'll not repeat the figure, but I'm like, wow, I just can't believe he's done all that running around, and then looking at it's.
I can't believe how bad he is at this. Yeah. This is what I tried to say, but yeah. No. So I did do just like this is what because everyone thinks, if you're in the car trade and you're buying cars and you've got like 30 grand, 20 grand cars on the forecourt, that it's all cocaine and Rolls Royces and whatever. But I think
is it not?
Well, not usually for me. Yeah, not during the week. So what was it? Yeah, this was a year that we tried quite a lot. So I had wasted quite a bit of money trying different things. Again, it's something I'm trying to rein in on myself. We did about £2.5 million worth of turnover, and I'd netted about 25 grand or something. I think it was, or 20 or something true net at the end of it. So 1%. We'd spent a lot on. I'd bought some trucks, and I was trying to we were trying to do a transport arm of this. So I'd employed some extra staff who weren't really that, efficient, I guess. So that wasted a bit of money, and we'd done quite a few other things. So, it and the business covers a lot of my own personal expenses in a sense. So, but still, it's not what people would have thought. They would have thought it was, loads and loads and loads. And I'm like, well, my plumbing business, where I don't even actually touch a tool anymore. I've got one guy that works for me. We've got contracts that made, twice that much. And YouTube even better again, So I've got all these other things going on. But you know what? I think that's also partly my fault, because that was probably the first full year of doing YouTube and realizing I could make money from it and all those sorts of things. And I was just like, this is great. This is, I'll just do this. Completely took my eye off the garage, and just let everyone else kind of just do their stuff without any real supervision, which is a big mistake. You just can't. You can't rely on not knocking anyone who works here or whatever. You can't rely on people to make decisions that you're going to make, or be as driven as you are, or whatever. You know what? I'm sure we all know what it's like when you employ people, and they're like, I just don't know what I'm going to do because of this. And it's like, you're like, have you tried just phoning? Our wheel place is full. They can't do the wheels. It's like, right, have you just tried Googling wheel places in the area, see if anyone else? No, I haven't done that. Come on, But yeah, so yeah, it was figures are far from impressive, but also we've taken on some stock funding. I probably wasn't being very efficient with that, and
but you're trying new things, aren't you? That's from what I'm getting from that. You're trying the transport thing. You're taking on new stuff, and you've got bits of YouTube going on. You've got other things going on. You've got income coming from other places that's getting you. Getting your lifestyle, getting you by, and then you're trying to do all that stuff to better yourself, aren't you? So I don't see it as a problem. I take me out off you. I think it's good.
It's not a loss, is it? And it was
you don't want to stand still there. That's the thing. You don't.
No. And to be honest, I see it. I was quite pleased that it was not great, because it's like, well, great, I got a challenge now. Because I think it was just maybe got a bit just took my eye off the ball and wasn't that interested. I was interested in other stuff, and that's probably the bit of the ADHD in me. You know, if it's not like forefront and I'm really concentrating on it, I just can't. Like someone puts a bit of text in, someone puts a SAF test in front of me and starts asking me questions. I got to read through, like, you know, what type of finance is this and whatever. If I'm not interested, do you know what it's like when you read a page like 5 times over and you're like, I didn't take that in. I'm a bit like that. When I lose interest in something, I'm just awful for it. So it's kind of re-energized me. So that's good.
I think, Joe, there'll be a lot of people like that. I know last year was my toughest year in the motor trade. Done it for 14, 15 years and made some bad choices, staffing wise, you know, stock wise, various other things where you get the end of the end, think, oh man, I right after that, and you only blame yourself because it's down to your own decision. I mean, I did one at Christmas where we closed the prep center, but pretty much Christmas for the fortnight, we've got like 250 cars to prep, and all the mechanics were off and the painters were off just because of New Year's Day. And I was talking to the accountant about it yesterday, and he says, oh, you know, December's going to be a bit of a stinker for you because, you know, he says, do you normally close? And I was like, no, I never normally. I said, I think I made that bad move there. That it was like a wrong decision. But you can't do it. You can't, you know, you crying over spilled milk and things like that. You've just got to kind of learn from it and move on. But I think we'll all be guilty of making mistakes, Joe. And I think people have, you know, make out that they're perfect and they know how they're doing certain things. They're liars, you know. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think maybe that's why I don't mind being on camera. I don't, you know, I don't worry about any of this sort of stuff. I'm a complete open book. And it's funny, we were talking yesterday, talking about going to auctions or talking to people that when you're starting out in the trade, no one wanted to talk to you. It's like real close ranks, and everyone would be telling you they're having it away and they're selling stuff left, right, and center, and they just want to bid you up on stuff to try and like dishearten you. And
don't think you're describing Scott.
Yeah.
Standing behind you, going,
oh, honestly, good.
You used to get all sorts though. You know, you get people like you're saying, they would laugh at you if they'd just bid you up to like some stupid price where you just think, well, no one's making profit on that. You've done that just to try and better me. And I
did that. I must admit, I did that to Stephen on purpose. Really, this banter thing going on. It was just like more just between me and.
It was great banter. You're not costing £300 a car.
No, but I was trying to buy the car for me, but he always wanted the car, and it was always a fight between the car. And we'd be at like BCA, and the auctioneers would be laughing because he'd be at one end of the hall, and I'd be the other, and there wasn't many people there. And it was just like how far he would go, how far I would go. But you know, we had conversations where we'd say, look, instead of bidding each other up, can we not? You just buy those, and I'll buy those. But then everybody else is bidding as well, so it was a hard one to do. But what
was crazy though, we used to. He'd be like you said at one end, I'd be the other end, and we're like doing this, you know, we're trying to look at each other and look for each other's facial reactions. And then the one would win the car, and then he'd walk back to each other and start having a talk, just like
yeah.
situation. And then he'd be like, because you know Maz Ali, do you know Maz Ali?
Yeah.
Obviously, podcast. Maz is one of our pals as well. He would stand with and like so. He'd be like these little thing going, I'll just sit him up £500.
My favourite thing used to be if you'd be in the auction hall and it was watching all the things. If you go there regularly, you know who the people are, and you know who's friends with who and whatever. It's like all the tricks people would use, like they'd go and listen to a car and they'd be like, oh, and they'd turn around and start talking to someone like, nah, like, you know, like it's fucked, it's rattling, or whatever, or pointing at something. You know, like, he doesn't even know him. The guy will turn around and look at him like, who's he? But he's doing a show for someone else, you know, for everyone else who's watching. Or, yeah, I did used to quite like some of the tricks people would play. Look down one side of it, and, be like, and then walk away and bid from the back of the room.
You know, I'm on with the auctions, you know, for bidding people up. At Mannheim in Washington, there was a guy came up, Paul from Available Cars, very strong buyer, you know, and he would go to that sale and buy just about everything. And some people would have the attitude and think, well, there's no point in even bidding against him because you can't. And that was always kind of the scenario. But I would have a go, you know, and I'd keep having a go. And there'd be times when I wasn't, you know, online had dropped out. There was no more bids in the hall, and it was me and him just going for it. And, you know, I could like say it was a Lucas car, and Lucas might get an extra, I don't know, £800 for the car. I would bail out the end. He would still buy it. But I thought if you go up against these big buyers, it sets like a precedent in the area where they think, well, there's no point in just keep going to Newcastle because everything's cheap. But then with Lucas, you you could make them like that, like an extra 3,000 quid a sale, and then the one car you would buy, they would ring up and say, "Have you got another £50 for that car? It's just not quite there." And you just think,
Nobody else wanted it. I'm the highest bidder.
yeah, and they want another 50 quid on the car. And I was friends with a guy, the disposal manager, and he used to be on the roster, and I just think, like, is there any morals? Like, is any, you know what I mean? And just like trying to squeeze you out for that last little bit.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just say, no, there's no 50 quid. And because they'd asked for the 50, I should say, just take my name off the car. And they'd be like, whoa. We'll just go back and we'll ask him. So whether it was the auction trying for the 50 or it was Lucas themselves as a vendor, I don't know. That was probably the mix, really.
It works both ways sometimes, doesn't it? Because sometimes I've had it where I've put a few in and they've said, or I have been willing to go much higher on stuff. And I said, I'd probably go to say, like, maybe it made 12.5 and book was 15 or something sketchy probably that I was buying. And I'd be like, I got up to 14, but they go back and they'd be like, I got it for you at 13.5. And you'd be like, legend.
Yeah.
It works both ways sometimes, I guess. So yeah.
I remember being at the sale once, and there was a guy, he had it was quite an expensive Audi, and it was through his business, and it was something to do with, say the car done 40,000 miles. He clocked it forward, you plug them in, you clock them, and he clocked it forward to like 180,000 miles to go through the auction. He was going to then buy the car through the auction to get the invoice to put through his books for the tax reasons. And he was talking to somebody in the auction. I don't know if a few people knew about it, and he got sidetracked. He didn't end up buying the car, but somebody who he knew bought the car, and that turned into an argument because he says, "Oh no, I bought that. Now you're out." So he lost the car. They bought it cheap, and then they rewound the miles back to where it should have been.
I bet you there's some serious stories when it comes to stuff at auction.
I think so. Yeah.
It's every day.
Yeah.
Where are you buying your cars from at the moment, then, Scott? Is it sorry, Scott? No, sorry. Is it auctions? Is it, or is it a mixture? I know you mentioned you've obviously got your own car buying site.
Yeah. So, well, I can't buy anything at auction at the minute. I just price as typical January prices. But yeah, we do buy a lot through our car buying site. So, and generally it's better stuff with better margins probably because it's net margins because it's usually better quality stuff than some of the stuff you might get at auction. There's always just more prep than you expect, isn't there? But it's a mix really.
And are people bringing those cars direct to you from like if they go on your website?
The majority will go and pick them up.
You'll go and pick them up.
Yeah, it can be a gamble obviously because people don't always describe their cars that well, but I normally tend to try and price stuff that's going to allow for the few things that they don't tell you about.
And are they local to you, or do you get them from all over?
We'll go 2 or 3 hours away. So when I first saw Part X Gold when Scott was done, I was like, oh, there's some good stuff on there. I'll be all over this. And I'm like, oh, it's probably like 5 hours away.
Yeah.
We could have sort of transporter maybe. But yeah, to be honest, we get loads. I guess it's with the YouTube, which is great because I don't have to pay for any marketing for the car buying. So either it'll come through our website or people just phone us up. I got this car. I haven't really bought anything from auction for a long time, to be honest, thinking about it. Certainly not this year. I don't think I bought anything from auction this year. No, that's a lie. I might have bought a couple of bits. I buy some stuff from BCA because I got funding through BCA. So quite often that's not really utilized. I'm like, I ought to have a look on there. I could get some more stock here.
And how many cars are you managing to buy per month then, just from your own car buying site?
It all depends on how much we pushed it, I guess. But I don't know. I suppose you're talking 10 to 20 a month, maybe more on some months. But normally most days we got our driver Dan out going off somewhere to pick up something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be more than enough to. Well, in fact, the truth is, it is more than I can. We ought to have a discussion.
I know we said this, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Because I've started to build out something for mine. I've got a tech guy in who's made the whole system easier for me because all I used to have was a contact form, and it would come through with the information, but no pictures. And I try and price it off of that, but I'd be opening up Auto Trader, I'd be opening up Google Maps to see how far away they are. I'd be, open up loads of different things to try and put a price together. Whereas now we've got that all on one page, so it's like a little dashboard for me to work on. I can just quickly chuck those prices in and send them off. But a lot of the stuff, it's going to be like, say, up your way. It's just too far away for me to collect it. It's just too lumpy for me to want to buy it. Problem is, I tend to still buy stuff, especially lumpy stuff, because it's got really nice margins in. But then I just tie myself up with cash flow, and it's just probably not the most sensible thing to do. Or it's too cheap, or it's too high mileage, or whatever. And I'm just like, there's, like you said, there's a bum for every seat, isn't there? There's a lot of people want to buy that stuff, so I'm trying to put it somewhere so that it can get bought by someone else, rather than it just going to We Buy Any Car and going through the bloody auction machine again, and we just don't know. So, to be fair, we get more than we can handle, and it's I get to cherry pick stuff, which is great. But still, I enjoy buying from auctions. I just like being able to buy quite a few cars in one hit.
One go. Yeah.
I find it quite. That's like my fun, I think, in this job is buying. I don't like selling at all. I've got a bit sick. I think the reason I haven't been using auctions as much is because I used to sit there on the sofa at night and I'd scroll through the BCA app and whatever else, and I'd make like a list for the cars the next day, and I might have 40 or 50 cars, and I might put 20, 30 proxy bids in. You might win one if you're lucky, and some days you wouldn't at all. I'm like, why am I going to spend my whole evening looking through these things? Prices are just absolutely crazy. Just get a bit fed up of it. But yeah, back in the day, I used to go and buy 20 snotters at a time. I used to love it. I used to get them. I used to buy cars on BCA. I think the lowest price you could pay was 100 quid. Otherwise, they always, say the scrap man's going to have it.
Very brave.
These were 80 quid. So you could have a car out the door for 180 quid. And I used to, you bring them back and you flog them for 695, and that was just like a bucket of water over them. Check they drove all right. They weren't making any weird noises or whatever. You'd sell them on as like spares or repairs or whatever. They were the days, really. But it's not really a fun job to keep doing it that way.
No. Lots of fights involved doing that and all.
Yeah.
People want to fight you.
So what's the future then for yourself? I know you're talking about possibly opening another site and expanding on what you've already got. Have you got a plan in place yet, or?
Not for another site. I've got to try and rein myself in a little bit. This is the first year I've actually set out like a kind of plan for the year, and even done like a little staff handbook so everyone knows what they need to do. Because I realised that 100% what we're missing is we've got like lots of opportunity. We've got lots of exposure. We've got a great location. We've got the funds there to buy stuff, and what's lacking is like the management. I'm just crap at it. I'm quite good at having ideas to like make money on whatever, but day-to-day running of things, I'm just awful at organizing. So trying to really get on top of that to make sure we've actually got like systems and processes, as cliche as it is. And going to start prepping the cars at this other site, hopefully. So that's like being sort of built now. And hopefully, like, if we were to meet up again this time next year, I'd be like, yes, it was, everything was really efficient. We had a lot less problems. We had a lot less warranty issues and all that sort of stuff. Maybe turnover wouldn't have gone up hugely, but net profit should have, gone up considerably. So that's it. Just try not to get carried away with too many more stupid ideas and, big clever ideas when I haven't actually mastered the first simple idea.
Yeah. You mentioned putting systems in place. By systems, do you just mean like, do you mean software systems or just sort of like? No,
not really. Just so say like we're literally having a process of like a preparation process. So we've got like a don't even know what colours it is. Let's say blue and red stickers that's going on the back of the rear view mirrors now. So a red one's the mechanical. So each car now is going to come here to our garage where we got the sales, and maybe one day what would be nice is to move mechanical somewhere else as well, and then have every bit of square inch here used for just cars and selling. But that's further down the line. So yeah, everything comes here. It will have its PDI, road test. If it needs a service, if it's due a service, it will get done. If it's due an MOT, it will get done. If it needs tires, all that sort of stuff, and they'll do like a check around it. So if it needs bodywork, wheels, any of that sort of stuff, there'll be a little note that goes in it, and it'll get a little red sticker. So mechanically sorted. Then it can go off to this other site. They're going to clean it up. If it needs, someone's going to have a list then, right, well, it needs a bumper corner painting or whatever. So we'll sort the paint, sort the wheels if they need refurbing, then clean it, photograph it, do a walk around video of it, and kind of get that all on our DMS, so it's ready to go. Green sticker goes on it, and it can come back over, and it literally can go on the forecourt here. Then, if someone wanted to come by it that afternoon, it should be ready to go. So that's the utopia idea that I'm trying to.
Yeah. Do you not use any? I mean, you mentioned the DMS, but other than that, do you not use any other software that would help you manage that process?
No, not really. No.
I think that might help you. You know.
Yeah.
We use something that was sort of fashioned in house. I could sort of show you and give to you really that works for us.
Really, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably elements of the DMS that I use. That these things, they're all so complicated. We got Dealer Kit.
Dealer Kit. Oh yeah, I've looked at it. Looks excellent.
It is good. Yeah, it's really good, and it's good for me because it's kind of like user friendly. It's like having an Apple phone versus an Android. It's just like big, easy buttons. That's what I need. But yeah, I'm sure there's elements of that we don't use. But I feel like we get tied up in inputting everything 100 times just for the sake of it. I'm very much one of those people. It's just like get it in, get it, do this.
Yeah,
do that.
I get that, but I think if you get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet and doing it all correctly, then it might feel like it's a bugbear and it's time consuming, but it'll actually probably save you more time further down the line. You know, like making the processes more slick and efficient.
Yeah. It's always been the problem with the industry, though, isn't it? That there's that many different things you need to do and that many different systems that none of them really talk to each other properly.
Yeah,
it's always been a big problem.
Yeah,
we use a bit of software. It's called Airtable. It's not motor trade related, but it's basically like a very, very fancy spreadsheet, and we'll put all our cars in. I've got a girl who works for us who does like admin stuff, so she'll like load the car onto, we use Click Dealer, on the Click Dealer, and then she'll load the car onto Airtable, and it's basically just reg, make and model of the car, mileage, where we bought it from, things like that. But then we've got like different processes that we do or different columns. So we'll have, it needs PDI, needs paintwork, needs MOT, needs yada 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 all along the line.
Yeah.
And so you'll start them off and they'll have like little drop down buttons. Obviously, when a car first comes in, it needs everything. It's got like a filtering system on it. So when any one of the staff sort of finish a job off, drop a car off or somewhere, they'll say, right, come back to the computer, or they've got it on their phone and say, right, I've dropped this car. They'll search the reg and it's right, this car's now at and it'll drop down. And so when the car valeters come back and they've cleaned a car and they'll say, right, what's next on the list? So anyone in the business can just look on the thing and say, right, needs valeted, and they'll click the button and it'll just show you a list of what needs valeted. But you can look along the list and you can see that, right, well, yeah, these 7 cars need valeted, but that one there is at MOT. That one still waiting at this part. This one needs paintwork. So there's these 2 here that are next to valet. It works.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think there's an element of you can do some of that stuff with Dealer Kit, but it's probably a bit more just on a spreadsheet would be quite good. But I think this is why I'm quite looking forward to the idea of my sister coming in and doing like almost like prep manager. She's not any car mechanical skill whatsoever, but we are like polar opposites. There's me who's full on like ADHD, bunked off, didn't really go the last year of school, no real qualifications, but quite entrepreneurial and willing to take a risk. And she, has got 2 degrees, one of them which was done in French. She's very kind of analytical, and she was a management accountant for Debenhams, so that's her bag. It's like and she enjoys it, whereas for me, it makes me angry. I hate spreadsheets and stuff like that. So I'd definitely love to see it. So
definitely.
In a sort of a linear thing like that, it'd probably be a lot easier for me to like visualize than it is a million and one different things.
We moved over, Joe. We moved over to Dragon. And halfway through last year, because my new accountant came in, and we're a bit prehistoric. We used to pay the staff weekly, which you try and tally that up with monthly bonus. That was the first thing. And we had the body shop was a limited company, the Bosch Car Service was a limited company, but we got rid of the limited companies where it's all now into one, but they're still under separate departments. But we used to have Click Dealer, and Click Dealer was excellent, but the workshop tool let them down a little bit, which they knew. And we used to have TechMan for the workshop, and TechMan was very, very good as well. Their accountancy side wasn't the best, but if you had the 2 of them together, it would have been really good, but we couldn't get it to work. So we moved the whole system over to Dragon, which was massive, like a huge upheaval, and then trying to get used onto using different systems. But that process what you're talking about, Stephen, that Dragon does that. So you bring the car in, and then each department feeds into, has it been through a body shop, is it waiting for parts to come and all that. You can see like the process of the car where it's at. So it manages itself in a way. It's quite good.
Yeah. What lets these systems down is me, because I'm just like, I just don't put the information in.
Yeah, well, that will let it down. Like you've got to.
So I need someone who can do that, which is fine. We can sort that. But there are loads of clever systems. I know because Ian Cooper, who's the dealer kit guy.
Good guy, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was in. And he was like, I got whiteboards everywhere in my office at the thing. It's got a list of cars that have got little dings in for the paint man. So he's like, well, you have that on here. So when your PDR man turns up, you can just print a list for him, and he walks out with regs and whatever. And yeah, it's great, but it's only as good as me who's inputted the stuff.
I like the whiteboards, and I like pieces of paper.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I'm very analog.
Our Techman system, I had that for 6 or 7 years. I didn't even have a login for it. I wouldn't even know how to get on, for workshop efficiencies and all that. But there's managers there, and I'd ask them the question. I'd say, can you give us a report off that? And they'd say, yeah, I'll get it. So a lot of the systems, because I know, obviously, DealerWin, Stephen and Martin themselves, very, into systems and all that. And Stephen was keen to get me into that. And he said, I'll get you logged onto here, and you can, go in the background of it. And I was like shy away from it. So, which I was saying yesterday, I'm dyslexic. So I see things. Sometimes I get a bit stressed when I look at systems and I don't know how to do it. I get like frustrated by it. So I'm already basic stuff like Auto Trader Portal. I can manage that, but that's probably about my peak.
Yeah, that's how I feel sometimes as well. I don't know if I am dyslexic. I'd say I'm definitely not. But you know what? I think I've got dyslexic hands because I'll type and it's just the most garbage, jumbled up stuff ever, and I have to go back and fix it. It's a really strange thing. So I like writing things down, and
I do words the wrong way, and I spell things backwards and I have to pause. Like I've never read a book in my life. I always get to the first page, and it's weird. I can't read books, and I would love to be able to read books. Probably send you to sleep on a night time when you struggle to sleep, but just can't read books. There's just certain things which I struggle with, and apparently dyslexic people it's just the way it is. You might gain on certain things, but then obviously you fail on others.
I couldn't tell you the alphabet in order, honestly.
Really?
I could get to about M, and honestly, I can't. And months of the year, I've only really just in the last 10 years, something to do with it. Something in my head just really struggles with it. Sequences like that.
Dyslexia, that.
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah, I mean, I'll get to it's like I won't even embarrass myself by trying to say. But if someone said I would like July, I would have to count on my hand what number of the month of the year that is, or whatever. I know I'm not. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I know I'm not an idiot. It's just these weird things that people have. I do exactly like you do, Scott. I'll say crankshaft instead of camshaft. I know exactly what they are. I went to college and did it, but it comes out wrong sometimes. I got a video on YouTube where I was talking about 2 different Porsches, and I was saying they've got straight 6 engines. And I said it a couple of times rather than flat 6. Crucified, and it's just like I know I'd muddle words out all the time.
We were talking about recalls yesterday, and I couldn't think of the word, and you helped me out, and you said safety, and I was like, yeah, safety, that's it. And I was trying to go through my head thinking, what's that word again? And often I struggle with certain things like that. I think it's weird. But like we were talking yesterday, I've told that, why don't I like football? I don't know, it's weird. I just, that's just certain things about everybody's different, I suppose. But it is a frustration. I don't know if it's all linked, but apparently, Joe, a good stat is 60% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. That's the stat. So it's not a bad thing. And the Dragons...
I've got 1 out of 2, Scott, so...
There's 2.
I can work on the other one.
Dragons Den, I think I'm sure 3 of them are dyslexic.
Yeah, 100%. There's it's like when I was talking to you yesterday, actually, saying obviously, you had a I don't know how you describe your dad, but not necessarily that sort of supportive or whatever. And I feel like I wondered if there's an element of wanting to prove or not be wrong, which is definitely something with me. I want to not leave anything on the table for someone to question me. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe if someone's ever suggested that you were lazy or not so clever or whatever, it's just like that's just for your own benefit. You just don't want to leave anything.
Yeah, you just want to. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I think we'll maybe just leave it there, then. I think we've discovered a lot about Joe and about his journey. Joe, really
awful car dealership.
No, don't be that. Thanks so much for coming on. Joe,
No, thank you for having me.
can you just let the DealerWay community know where they can find you, where your YouTube channel is, and your website and what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Shifting Metal is the YouTube channel. So I think if you just type that into YouTube, you will find it. And berrowmotors.co.uk. If you wanted to sell a car and you weren't using DealerWay, I'm sure it's mainly dealers who'll be watching this. There's carsboughtformore.com. Yeah, that's about it really. You can find me on Instagram, all that sort of stuff. You'll if you do follow any of that stuff, you'll see far more of me than you want to, unfortunately. But some people are into it. So.
And one last thing, Joe, if you could, we'll ask everyone this, but if you could give anyone in the DealerWay group or community who's starting out some advice, what would that be?
God, starting out. Just make sure you do your research. Make sure you've really considered everything. Do you know what? I actually get a lot of people reach out to me and like, oh, because of you or you're watching your videos, I want to get into selling cars, or I'm considering it. Should I do it? And I think it's a great job. If you get into it, you're going to love it. I think there's a great community, especially more so much these days than there used to be. But yeah, it's not an easy job. It's easy. It's a very low barrier to entry to get into, but it gets a lot harder. Yeah, you got to be one of these lads to get it really right, and I'm still working on it. So
we're all still working on it, Joe, every day. Yeah. Listen, thanks everyone. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.